Bye-bye, Jetta Thunberg. You served us well. Now you will be turned into something else useful. Bye. Welcome to the shop. I'm Jared, and this is Wrench Every Day. Behind me we have Jetta Thunberg and Honda Rousey, which we're combining the two into the Honda Rousey Thunberg limo for rally competitions and other craziness. We're putting the suspension and drivetrain from the Jetta into the Honda limo, so that way we can have a more reliable, more powerful drivetrain. Originally, we're going to spend a day and work on actually getting the subframe frame sections cleaned up and mounted into the limo and position the subframe. And we're going to finish cutting out the parts we need from the Jetta. We need our strut towers. We're going to cut those sections. We need the motor mount sections. We'll cut those. And then we'll actually come to the rear and start pulling the fuel tank and this rear subframe and tub wells that we need to mount this also under the limo. The limo has an independent rear suspension, which is nice for comfort, but with all of the extra load that we have by it being a limo, it really taxes the rear suspension. The Jetta is a solid rear beam style, which will work well to support the weight. We also are able to get performance parts. One, it already has disc brakes, bigger wheels, more readily available wheel sizes, so we're going to get better rubber, better tires, just better everything. So we're going to get everything stripped off the Jetta. We're going to get the rear end stripped out of the limo and actually work to also just position that rear suspension underneath, similar to how we currently have the front subframe, just to start visualizing and understand exactly what it is we're going to need to try to do to make everything swap. So we're going to get things plugged in, set up, so you can join with the fun as we tear some cars apart. I don't know, guys. I don't think I'm going to be able to drive the Jetta home today. We've got the shock tower mounts cut out. We've got the motor mounts on the frame section cut out here. So most all the steel we need to get out of the front has been liberated, and it's just kind of in a mess there. Our shock towers, transmission mount, front subframe mount, rear subframe mount, and the same stuff there. So these will be cleaned up and grafted in, but I wanted to go ahead and try to strip everything out of here. Still need to get the ECU at one point, but we're going to move now from the front of the vehicle to the rear. It is a very basic design. You can see one wheel, a shock, the spring, and then a beam that goes all the way over. So we just essentially have a pivot in the front with 4 bolts. We'll cut that mount out, although I might just make a new one. The shock has a real basic mount and a spring locator. That is everything that makes up this rear suspension setup. No sway bars. It's a very robust, simple design for front wheel drive cars. And again, I think it's going to work a lot better for us in the limo, given that the limo has more weight. So we'll be able to keep things and support the extra weight a lot better. If we go to a much larger fuel cell, which we've talked about in the future, this will be a little more inclined to handle it than an independent rear suspension. So we're going to set up, get the brake lines, one electrical connector, and the parking brakes loose, and then just unbolt this rear trailing section, slide her on out. Then we'll go over to the limo, yank all of its rear suspension, and just set this in the hole and see how it looks. Well, there we go. We got the Jetta beam suspension removed out of the rear of the car there, making some good headway. One of the big reasons I want to run this, we've got disc brakes in there, and it's a fairly simple modification. We need to set it up to bolt there, shock, and the spring mount, and that has all of that taken care of. So it's theoretically not going to be too bad to get set up. The independent suspension technically is superior, that's in the limo right now. It's just not able to handle the weight, and there's not really anything we can do to upgrade it. We can do tons of crazy machining, and by the time we're done with all of that, it's easier to just put a whole other rear end from a different car. I also want to point one thing out. I've only got so many jack stands. I'm not going back under the car. I don't want you to ever support a car on cinder blocks and go under it. That's not safe to be under. You should never do that if you're going to be under the car. It's just up so I can pull some wiring from the interior and stuff off the front, and then Jetta Thunberg is going off to car heaven. That's, again, a temporary thing. We had to come back here, support the rear of the limo. So we're gonna set up some lights just like we did on Jetta Thunberg, set some cardboard down, get underneath, and get to pulling. So we got the Honda all taken apart. Now you've heard me call the Honda suspension an independent rear suspension and then a beam or solid axle for the Jetta. You may not know exactly what that means, and no, independent rear suspension does not mean it's rebellious, growing up and discovering itself. What we've actually got here out from underneath the Honda, which is funny when you consider the Honda's a 1985 and the Jetta was a 2002, the Honda has slightly more advanced technology for ride quality, is both wheels have their own suspension and they're able to actually go up and down and travel independently of each other. What that can do for ride quality is, let's say the right side of the road's really bumpy, that's the only side that's going to be moving, left side's going to stay compliant and on the road and ride a little bit smoother. Whereas, as you can see, with the beam suspension, one side goes up, other side has to go up. There is a small amount of flex built into the tube, but you can't have too much, otherwise you'll suffer metal fatigue and they'll actually fail. Again, we've got the beautiful disc brakes and a much beefier design, especially when you can compare this as far as function as a limousine. So still the superior option. We're gonna go ahead and tuck that underneath and see exactly what we're gonna need to do. I feel like we're gonna have to move the fuel tank, which we had talked about going to like a 25 or 30 gallon fuel cell mounted where a spare tire would go. So next thing to do is just get it under there, see what else is gonna have to get pulled off, and go from there. Well, the alignment's a little bit off, but the suspension is going to work out. A couple of my concerns are actual ones. Like that fuel tank, we are going to most likely go to a fuel cell, because at the moment that this suspension's in position, it's going to live right there. These front mounts, actually, when we're positioned, land in a great spot here for me to actually build those brackets in for that to bolt in and have some adjustability to set rear toe. That's gonna land right up kind of where we need to, where I'll actually be able to cut and modify and add in the part from the Jetta for that shock absorber to bolt to. And then I'll just have to build a little plate back there for our springs. And we're gonna be able to make this work and fit in and successfully fit complete Jetta suspension, brakes, and drivetrain into a limo. So this one's sitting a little closer to where it needs to, obviously well low. So I'm gonna go catch a shower and come back tomorrow where we'll pull the fuel tank, get some of the other parts out of the way so we can actually get this mocked in, cut those parts out of the Jetta, and start prepping the subframe and see if we don't actually have a welded in and in position suspension come tomorrow. All right, so let's get up to speed. I actually spent yesterday, didn't do a lot of filming, just doing some small piddly stuff, dropped the fuel tanks out of both cars. We pulled some of the ECUs and wiring harnesses off the front of the Jetta. What else did we do? We cut the shifter tunnel out of the Jetta, and we've got it kind of dropped in place in here. Can't see anything through that reflection. So that'll just simplify mounting the shifter box. So we're doing a little bit more, just the small prep stuff. We've still got those sitting. We've been having the discussion, and I kind of like this idea because one of the big problems we had on the rally was high centering. If we went over something like a driveway or entrance that was a little too steep, we'd actually drag the belly of the car pretty substantially, and while doing so, the car flexed a lot. So because the Jetta frame points are a little bit taller, we can actually lift the Honda a couple inches, give us that belly clearance. We lose some of the cornering ability of the Honda limo, I guess. So you give some, take some. You can actually have a little bit more comfort, a little bit better ease of driving the car, or we can sling it through corners. And I still think we're gonna be cornering a lot better, stopping. So we're gonna play a little bit with setting ride height just a little bit taller. The other big reason that helps us is I will need to get shocks made that are a couple inches shorter, and right now with the health pandemic going on, we're in a position where we're working with what we have just in case things clear up, and I really hope they do. Hope you guys are staying safe, but we're gonna set up to start pulling the last of what we need out of the Jetta so it can leave the shop for good. I want to take the pedal box assembly, since the Honda is an automatic. This has the hole and everything set up for a slave cylinder. It also has a larger brake booster diaphragm, which gives you more pedal assist, which would be nicer for the disc brakes that we now have. So we're gonna cut out the firewall assembly, and when we go to graft that into the Honda, we're actually going to leave the Honda's firewall, cut the holes we need, and put the Jetta parts on the inside. Because all of the pressure when you're applying the brakes, pushing a clutch, you're pushing. So by having it on the inside with the factory firewall of the Honda there, it's gonna reinforce it a lot more. You're not gonna have to worry about potentially breaking it away. So we need to get that loose. We're gonna pull these fuse boxes. I may not need them, we may just need the electrical connectors. I'm researching to see how minimalistic I can get on that ECU. If it's just a matter of key switch, key in, a couple things like that, and we can get it running, that will be awesome. But for now, I do want to get all that wiring harness so I have it just in case we need it. I don't want to be on my back to pull the dash, to work all of that stuff. So I want to try something I've actually ever done once, and that was to put a roll cage in an old circle track race car. And I'm going to try just cutting all of our A-pillars and lift the top off the car, so that way I can just stand up and look and get right there. So I know there's special tools for it, the Jaws for Life. I'm wondering how well a Sawzall blade will do. Let's find out. So as it turns out, the reason they have special tools is this B-pillar is incredibly strong. That's all the cut we could make. But what's pretty impressive, that door still closes pretty good. I mean, even this one. But we should have plenty of clearance for the dash now. and for headroom. A-pillar did not put up much fight, nor did the roof or the sunroof. What's actually kind of impressive, considering I actually hit it with a Sawzall, right there, cut into it with a Sawzall, and it fell out of the windshield frame and came crashing down. Our sunroof still hasn't broke. Tempered glass is a really fun thing at how strong it can be until you just hit it just right and then it shatters. I don't want glass completely all over the shop, so we're not gonna do that. So we've got this out. We're gonna yank this dashboard, get it plucked all the way back and out of the way so we can go ahead and recover what we want to out of this. It's gonna be really easy now. We can just reach right in and do it. Well, the good part about summertime is it gets really warm and humid and I sweat a lot. And by good, I mean not good. So it's kind of hot and sticky, but we'll deal with it. Making good progress for the final bits and pieces coming off. We now have that nice big hole. I actually am finding out, I don't know if it's a universal left to right, so if this was a right-hand drive, it would just be a different dash insert. But there's this panel that bolts in and then is Sam cracked all the way around to kind of permanently seal it. It was kind of a pain to break apart, but we did get it apart. That's sitting right there. So we've got our nice pedal box assembly, everything we need. So we'll be able to go in, cut out our hole there, and again, place this on the inside, weld it and spot it in place, and we're set up with the 3 pedals. We've also got most of the wiring harness pulled over. Almost every wire that's going to the back, I cut them there. They're for the rear audio, lights, tail lights, things that we're not going to need in our swap setup. So we're gonna finish snipping that side, and we have that giant bundle. We're not gonna need all of that. I'm gonna reach out, maybe Humble Mechanic. I'm gonna also go through just the diagrams and work through the minimalistic, just what we need to make this work. I did find around the ignition cylinder the exciter ring for the key, which I didn't set over here. It's plugged in on the wiring harness, but it's the little antenna that reads the immobilizer, because I'm not sure if the immobilizer is built into the engine ECU. If so, it's just a matter of we keep that key around that antenna at all the time, so that way it's not in an immobilized state, and we can start it with either the original Honda key sending the signals, a little toggle switch. So we'll get to that point soon. So we're almost completely stripped of parts from the Jetta that we're going to need. I got tired of laying on my back and getting covered in sparks, realizing we've got no more fluids to spill, and we're not worried about the body panels. So we went ahead and put a Jetta Thunberg in a better position to get the last parts we need. I wouldn't necessarily advise you doing this to a car you care about and don't want to hurt the bodywork, but then again, I don't think you would have done any of that to a car you cared about and didn't want to hurt the bodywork. You need to cut this plate out on this side, this mount, and pull the fuel chiller, and we're done. everything's off. I will say this about the Jetta. It's impressive that I can have so much cut out of it. The doors open and closed without issue. This B-pillar is holding strong with a small cut in it and the weight of the car on it. I mean, it's a small car and I don't fit well in it, but I wouldn't be terrified to get hit by something while driving it. So we're gonna get back to work, waiting for a few saw blades to show up, get those pieces cut out, and we'll take her outside so the scrappers can come get it and recycle all of the good parts that are left, the metal, so she can live on as something else. So we got the last bit of metal that we're gonna need cut out and have Miss Jetta Thunberg loaded up to go to the racetrack in the sky. We've got a scrapper coming by Monday to pick up what remains of the car. It's kind of sad when I actually go back and think that Tavarish and I had the awesome road trip coming back in December with this car. It served Greg and his family well. It kind of hurts, but it's for a good purpose. We've got all the little pieces of suspension, we've got that engine there, all to make an already great car even greater. I think we're gonna wrap up the video for us right there. We got a lot of footage, we got a lot of parts, and we got a little dirty. Well, maybe a lot dirty. So I'm gonna get cleaned up and head on home. So I'm Jared, this is Wrench Every Day. I'd like to remind you to always make questionable choices and keep a safe distance, both in driving and in life. Bye-bye, Jetta Thunberg. You served us well. Now you will be turned into something else useful. Bye.